Dr. Kamala Patel's fingers hovered over the holographic display, her dark eyes reflecting the pulsing patterns of the mysterious signal. The Europa Deep Space Monitoring Station's observation deck offered a breathtaking view of Jupiter's massive form, but she hadn't looked up from her console in hours. Something about this signal was different. It didn't match any known cosmic phenomenon in their database. Dr. Patel, you need to see this. Raj Mehta, her senior analyst, called from across the room. His usually calm demeanor showed cracks of excitement. The pattern's repeating, but it's evolving. Kamala moved to his station, her movement awkward in the station's low gravity. The signal's visualization twisted and morphed on his screen, forming complex geometric patterns that shouldn't occur naturally. Run it through the quantum processor again, she ordered, though she already knew what it would show. After 15 years of scanning the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, she was looking at humanity's first contact. The station's AI, Arya 7, confirmed her suspicion. Pattern analysis indicates a 97% probability of artificial origin. The signal contains embedded mathematical sequences consistent with deliberate communication attempts. Kamala's heart raced. Where's it coming from? The edge of the Kuiper Belt, Raj replied, pulling up a star chart. Whatever's generating it is moving. And it's headed our way. The observation deck erupted into controlled chaos as researchers and analysts scrambled to their stations. Dr. Viktor Petrov, the station's senior astrophysicist, joined them, his weathered face grave. We need to alert Earth Command immediately. Wait, Kamala raised her hand. We need to understand what we're dealing with first. Arya 7, begin decryption protocols. The next 12 hours became a blur of coffee, complex algorithms, and increasingly bizarre revelations. The signal wasn't just a greeting, it was a test. Hidden within its mathematical patterns were problems, each more complex than the last. It was as if something out there wanted to know if humanity was intelligent enough to understand. It's beautiful, Kamala whispered, watching as Arya 7 decoded another layer. Look at how the patterns interlock. They're not just sending us math, they're showing us art. Dr. Petrov frowned at his own display. Beautiful or not, the signal's source is accelerating. At current speeds, they'll reach Pluto's orbit in less than 3 months. A new alert flashed across their screens. Arya 7's synthetic voice carried an unusual note of urgency. New pattern detected. Decryption complete. Dr. Patel, I believe they're sending us blueprints. The holographic display at the center of the room flickered to life, showing intricate technical schematics. Kamala's eyes widened as she recognized what she was seeing. It's not just blueprints, she breathed. They're showing us how to build something. Something big. The schematics revealed a massive structure, a device of some kind that would require resources from across the solar system to construct. Its purpose wasn't immediately clear, but the timing couldn't be coincidental. They want us to build this before they arrive, Raj said, stating what everyone was thinking. But why? Kamala studied the designs, her mind racing. It's a test, she finally said. Think about it. They're not just checking if we can understand their message. They want to know if we can execute complex instructions, if we can coordinate on a solar system-wide scale. They're evaluating us. Or preparing us, Victor added grimly. The question is, preparing us for what? The station's communication system chimed, indicating an incoming priority transmission from Earth Command. Kamala took a deep breath, knowing that humanity's next great adventure, or perhaps its greatest challenge, was about to begin. Before we answer, she said, looking at her assembled team, we need to decide how much to tell them. Because I don't think this is just about first contact anymore. Look at these energy calculations in the blueprints. Whatever this device is supposed to be, it could power Earth for a century. Or what? Raj asked, though his expression suggested he already knew. Or it could be a weapon capable of destroying a solar system. Kamala's voice was steady despite the weight of her words. And I don't think our visitors are giving us this knowledge without reason. As Jupiter's massive form cast its shadow across the observation deck, Kamala made her decision. Humanity had just been thrust onto a galactic stage, ready or not. Whatever came next would change everything. She just hoped they were prepared for the consequences of their response. The communication system chimed again, more insistent this time. Earth Command was waiting. And somewhere out there, beyond the edge of their solar system, something was coming. Something that had chosen this moment to reveal itself, after centuries, or perhaps millennia of watching and waiting. Kamala opened the channel, her voice clear and determined. Earth Command, this is Dr. Kamala Patel at Europa Station. We've made first contact, and there's something you need to know. The signal pulsed steadily on their screens, its complex patterns now seeming less like a greeting and more like a countdown. Whatever humanity's response would be, they needed to decide quickly, because their visitors weren't just coming to say hello, they were coming to change everything. And as Kamala began her report, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was exactly what they had been waiting for. Not just humanity's first step into a larger universe, but perhaps the universe's first test of humanity's readiness to join it. The stars had finally spoken. Now it was humanity's turn to answer. The Ambassador's Gambit. Captain Marcus Rodriguez stood at the helm of the Horizon's Dawn, Earth's most advanced diplomatic vessel, watching as the massive construction project near Neptune's orbit took shape. 3 months had passed since Dr. Patel's discovery, and humanity had worked with unprecedented unity to build the mysterious device. Now, with the alien vessel less than a day from reaching their solar system, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Status report, he called out, his voice steady despite the tension hanging in the air. Lieutenant Olivia Chin responded from her station. Construction teams report 98% completion on the device, Captain. Power systems are cycling as expected, though we still don't fully understand how half of it works. Marcus nodded, his dark eyes fixed on the massive structure. It resembled a giant metallic flower, its petals spanning several kilometers, all focused on a central core that pulsed with an eerie blue light. Earth's best scientists had followed the alien blueprints to the letter, but the underlying principles behind its technology remained largely mysterious. Message from Earth Command, Communications Officer David Walker announced. Ambassador Kenzo Tanaka has boarded his shuttle. He'll rendezvous with us in 20 minutes. Marcus straightened his uniform. As captain of humanity's flagship diplomatic vessel, he would work closely with Tanaka during the upcoming first contact. The ambassador had been chosen for his exceptional diplomatic record and, more importantly, his background in xenolinguistics and cultural adaptation. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, but Marcus could sense their underlying anxiety. They were about to make history, or possibly end up as a footnote in it, depending on how things went. Captain, Olivia called out suddenly, we're detecting unusual energy readings from the device. It's activating. Marcus spun toward the main display. The massive structure's petals were indeed moving, realigning themselves into a new configuration. No one had activated it, at least, no one from Earth. Give me Dr. Patel, he ordered, just as the ship's AI announced an incoming transmission from the Europa station. Dr. Patel's hologram appeared on the bridge, her expression urgent. Captain Rodriguez, are you seeing this? The device. It's responding to a signal we can't detect. The aliens must have remote access capabilities we didn't even know existed. Before Marcus could respond, space itself seemed to ripple in front of the device. A massive ship emerged from what appeared to be a tear in reality, its design unlike anything human eyes had ever seen. It was organic and geometric at the same time, its surface shifting and flowing like liquid metal. All stations, battle stations, Marcus ordered reflexively, then caught himself. Belay that. This is a diplomatic mission. But stay alert. Ambassador Tanaka's shuttle chose that moment to dock with the Horizon's Dawn. Minutes later, the ambassador himself arrived on the bridge. He was a tall, elegant man in his 60s, wearing traditional diplomatic robes that seemed to command respect simply by their presence. Captain Rodriguez, he greeted with a slight bow. It seems our guests have arrived ahead of schedule. The alien vessel had positioned itself near the device, which continued its mysterious activation sequence. Suddenly, every screen on the bridge lit up with a new transmission. this one far more complex than the original signal. It's a language package, Dr. Patel's hologram announced, her voice filled with wonder. They're giving us the tools to communicate. The ship's AI began processing the data immediately, and within minutes, a new voice filled the bridge, artificial, but clearly trying to approximate human speech patterns. People of Earth, it began, we are the collective. You have passed the first test by building the harmonic gate. Now comes the second test. Will you join us in facing what lies between the stars? Ambassador Tanaka stepped forward, his voice clear and diplomatic. On behalf of humanity, we welcome you to our solar system. We are honored by your invitation to dialogue, though we admit to some confusion about these tests you mention. The alien response came quickly, but with an undertone that the translation algorithm interpreted as urgency. Your species has been watched for centuries, as all emerging civilizations are. Some choose violence when they reach the stars. Others choose isolation. The few who choose cooperation are invited to join the collective. But time grows short. Marcus exchanged glances with Tanaka. There was something in that last statement that set off warning bells in his mind. Short for what purpose? Tanaka asked carefully. The answer chilled everyone on the bridge. The Devourers wake. They emerge from dark space every 1,000 cycles to feed on civilizations. The harmonic gate you build is not just a test. It is part of the defense network we build to survive. Your system lies in their path. You will either stand with the collective or fall alone. Marcus watched as Ambassador Tanaka processed this information, admiring the man's ability to maintain his composure. This was supposed to be a straightforward first contact mission. Now they were being told that an ancient threat was approaching, one that apparently terrified even these advanced aliens. How long do we have? Marcus found himself asking. 2 of your Earth years, came the reply. Already, outlying systems go dark. The Devourers do not negotiate. They do not communicate. They only consume. Ambassador Tanaka stepped forward again. You speak of cooperation, yet you approach us with an ultimatum. How can we trust that this threat is real? The alien ship's response was to transmit a massive data package, recordings from previous encounters with these Devourers. As the images played across the bridge screens, Marcus felt his blood run cold. Entire solar systems vanishing into what looked like tears in space itself, leaving nothing behind but debris and darkness. Captain, Olivia called out, her voice shaking slightly. The device, the harmonic gate, it's fully operational now. And it's generating some kind of field that extends throughout our entire solar system. A detection grid, the alien voice explained, connected to all other harmonic gates across thousands of systems. When the Devourers approach, you will know, and you will not face them alone. Ambassador Tanaka took a deep breath, then spoke with careful precision. We will need to consult with Earth's governments before making any binding decisions. However, I am authorized to begin preliminary discussions about potential cooperation. Your caution is understood, the alien voice replied. But know this, the harmonic gate now protects your system. It cannot be unmade. You are now part of something larger than your individual world. The only choice that remains is whether you will help us fight what comes from the dark or face it unprepared. Marcus watched as Tanaka began the delicate process of diplomatic negotiations, but his mind was already racing ahead to the implications. Humanity had just been thrust into what sounded like an ancient war, ready or not. The stars had finally spoken, but their message was far from peaceful. As the discussions continued, Marcus couldn't help but wonder, had they just been saved, or had they been drafted into a conflict beyond their comprehension? Either way, humanity's isolationist era was over. The only question was what price they would pay for their membership in this collective. The Horizon's Dawn maintained its position between Earth and the alien vessel, a symbolic gesture that felt both futile and necessary. Whatever came next would change the course of human history forever. Marcus just hoped they were ready for what that change would bring. Shadows between stars. Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka stood in the observation room of the stealth vessel Phantom Echo, watching the distant death of a star system. The ship's advanced cloaking technology, reverse-engineered from collective designs, kept them hidden as they witnessed the unthinkable. Through the quantum-enhanced viewport, she could see the massive void ships of the Devourers, pitch-black vessels that seemed to absorb not just light, but reality itself. "Recording everything," whispered Technical Officer Wei Zhang from his station. "Though I wish I wasn't." Yuki nodded silently. After 6 months of covert operations deep in unexplored space, they'd finally found what they were looking for. The Devourers weren't just coming. They were already here, methodically consuming everything in their path. The Phantom Echo's AI, designated Shadow, spoke in hushed tones despite being an artificial construct. Analysis complete. The Devourer vessels appear to be converting matter directly into dark energy. They're not just destroying these systems, they're transforming them into something else entirely. Yuki pressed her hand against the cold viewport. The distant star system, once home to a pre-space flight civilization according to collective records, was being systematically torn apart. The Devourer's ships moved with terrifying precision, their black surfaces occasionally rippling with patterns that hurt the human eye to observe. Message from Dr. Patel at Europa Station, Communications Officer Raj Kumar reported. They detected unusual quantum fluctuations in the harmonic gate network. They think the Devourer's activities are causing ripple effects across all connected systems. Yuki turned from the viewport, her features sharp with determination. "Send her our data, encrypted through the quantum channel. But first, Shadow, show me the pattern analysis." The ship's AI projected a holographic display in the center of the observation room. It showed the movements of the Devourer ships across multiple star systems, tracking their methodical advance. "They're not random," Wei observed, studying the projection. "These attacks follow a specific sequence." "Not just a sequence," Yuki replied, her eyes narrowing. "Look at the pattern they're creating across space itself. They're drawing something, or writing something, on a cosmic scale." The hologram adjusted, showing a broader view of the affected region. The pattern of destroyed systems did indeed form a distinct shape, though its meaning remained elusive. "Lieutenant," Raj called out suddenly, "we're picking up a transmission. It's coming from inside the Devourer fleet." Yuki's head snapped up. "What? That's impossible." "The collective said they don't communicate. It's not like any transmission we've seen before," Shadow reported. "It's being carried on waves of dark energy itself." Attempting to decode. The observation room's lights flickered as Shadow processed the strange signal. Then, without warning, every surface in the room began displaying the same shifting patterns they'd observed on the Devourer ship's hulls. "Stop," Yuki ordered. "Shadow, terminate the decode." But it was too late. The patterns had already begun forming into recognizable shapes. Not words or pictures, but something more fundamental. They were mathematical equations of stunning complexity, describing not just the physical universe, but something beyond it. Wei stumbled back from his console, his face pale. This isn't just a message. It's a proof. They're trying to prove something about the nature of reality itself. Yuki felt a chill run down her spine as she began to understand. The collective told us the Devourers were mindless consumers of civilizations. But that's not true, is it? They're conducting an experiment. Each system they destroy is part of some vast calculation. "Lieutenant," Raj's voice was urgent, "the harmonic gate network, it's responding to these patterns. All across known space, the gates are changing." On the holographic display, they could see it happening. The network of harmonic gates that connected thousands of civilizations was experiencing a cascade of modifications, each gate slightly altering its configuration in response to the Devourer's dark equations. "Get me a secure line to Ambassador Tanaka," Yuki ordered. The collective didn't tell us everything. The gates aren't just an early warning system. They're part of whatever the Devourers are trying to prove. And we just help them complete their network. As the Phantom Echo's crew worked to establish the connection, Yuki studied the continuing destruction of the distant star system. The Devourer's ships moved with what she now recognized as purposeful precision, each act of destruction carefully calculated and measured. "Message incoming," Raj announced. "Not from the ambassador, it's from the collective themselves." The message was brief but confirmed Yuki's worst fears. The final variable approaches completion. All gates will sink in 36 hours. The great theorem must be proven. Reality itself depends upon it. They knew, Yuki whispered. The collective knew what the Devourers really were. They've been helping them complete this cosmic calculation. Every civilization they recruited, every gate they built, it was all part of the equation. Wei's hands flew across his console. "Lieutenant, I've been analyzing these patterns. They're not just mathematical proofs, they're instructions. The Devourers aren't destroying reality. They're trying to rewrite it." The implications hit Yuki like a physical blow. Humanity hadn't just been recruited into an alliance. They'd been made part of an experiment that threatened the very fabric of existence. The harmonic gate in their home system wasn't protection. It was part of a vast machine designed to change the fundamental laws of the universe. "Plot a course back to Earth," she ordered. "Maximum speed. We have 36 hours to prevent our entire reality from being rewritten." As the Phantom Echo prepared to jump, Yuki watched the Devourers complete their work on the dying star system. The mathematical patterns swirled across their black hulls, each one aligned in an equation that would soon reach its terrible conclusion. "Send everything we've learned to Dr. Patel and Captain Rodriguez," she commanded, "and prepare a separate packet for Earth Command. They need to know what we're really dealing with." The stars seemed to blur as the Phantom Echo engaged its drive, racing back toward Earth. But Yuki couldn't shake the feeling that they were already too late. The universe itself was about to be recalculated, and humanity's own harmonic gate would help make it happen, unless they could find a way to break the equation. The coalition. Ambassador Zura Okonjo stood before the hastily assembled Galactic Council. Her traditional Nigerian formal were standing out among the diverse array of alien representatives. The emergency meeting chamber aboard the collective's massive station, Unity Point, hummed with tension as various species argued in a cacophony of translated voices. "Silence," she commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Lieutenant Tanaka's findings change everything. The collective has manipulated us all, and we have hours, not years, to prevent universal catastrophe." The chamber's central hologram displayed the data from the Phantom Echo's mission. Around her, representatives from 24 species watched with varying degrees of horror as they witnessed the Devourer's true purpose. The Mrith delegate, a crystalline being that communicated through light pulses, flashed in agitation. "Our entire civilization contributed resources to build these gates. Are you suggesting we helped create the instruments of our own destruction?" "Not destruction," came a new voice. Dr. Kamala Patel's hologram materialized in the chamber, transmitted from Europa Station. "Something far more dangerous. They're attempting to prove a mathematical theorem that could rewrite the fundamental constants of our universe." A ripple of movement caught Zara's attention. The collective's representatives, towering, ethereal beings of swirling energy, were trying to quietly leave the chamber. "Stop them," she ordered, and security fields immediately activated, containing everyone inside. The lead collective representative, who called itself the Voice of Unity, spoke in measured tones. "You do not understand. The Devourers showed us the truth millennia ago. Reality itself is flawed. Their great theorem will correct these flaws, leading to a more perfect universe." "Perfect for whom?" Zara demanded. "How many civilizations have you sacrificed to this cause? How many species have you recruited, knowing you were making them complicit in this madness?" The chamber erupted again as various representatives realized the full implications. The collective hadn't been protecting them. It had been grooming them, using their combined technological advancement to further the Devourer's insane experiment. Captain Rodriguez's hologram joined the assembly. "We have 28 hours before all harmonic gates synchronize. Dr. Patel and Lieutenant Tanaka believe this will create a cascade effect, allowing the Devourer's theorem to rewrite our universal constants. Then we destroy the gates, The Mrith delegate flashed urgently. We can't, Dr. Patel countered. They're too deeply integrated into the fabric of space-time now. A simultaneous destruction could trigger the very effect we're trying to prevent. Zara watched the various species representatives absorb this information. Fear, anger, and betrayal played across faces both alien and familiar. But she also saw something else, determination. Then we fight, rumbled the Kethan War Master, his scaled armor gleaming. Our fleet stands ready. The Devourers cannot be fought with conventional weapons, the voice of Unity warned. They exist partially outside normal space-time. That is why we chose to aid them rather than resist. No, Zara stepped forward, her voice firm. You chose to aid them because they showed you a mathematical proof of a better universe. But mathematics without morality is just numbers, and perfection without preservation of life is meaningless. She turned to address the entire assembly. We need to form a true coalition, not one built on lies and manipulation, but on the honest desire to preserve our existence as it is, imperfect though it may be. The chamber grew quiet as she continued. Each of our species has unique insights, technologies, and capabilities. Together, we might find a way to prevent the theorem's completion. But we have to move fast, and we have to move together. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Species that had been historical enemies found themselves working together. The Mritha's expertise in quantum mathematics combined with Kethan battle strategies. Human ingenuity merged with alien technologies in ways never before attempted. Dr. Patel's team on Europa worked tirelessly to understand the gate's underlying principles, while Lieutenant Tanaka's stealth fleet gathered intelligence on Devourer movements. Captain Rodriguez coordinated the combined fleet operations, preparing for what might be the first and last battle of this new coalition. We've found something, Dr. Patel announced suddenly. The gates operate on quantum entanglement principles. If we can create a controlled cascade of quantum disentanglement, we could disrupt their network without destroying it. The Mrith delegate finished, their crystalline form pulsing with excitement. But we'd need to modify all gates simultaneously, Rodriguez pointed out. The timing would have to be perfect. Zara looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes, visual sensors, and other sensory organs of each species' representatives. Can we do it? Can we work together closely enough, trust each other enough, to coordinate something this precise? The voice of Unity spoke again, but this time with a different tone. What you propose is dangerous. The Devourer's theorem promises perfection. Your solution would maintain a flawed existence. These flaws are what make us who we are, Zara responded. Our imperfections drive us to improve, to adapt, to grow. A mathematically perfect universe would be static, unchanging, dead. One by one, the representatives voiced their agreement. Even some of the younger collective members broke ranks with their leaders, choosing the uncertainty of free existence over the promise of engineered perfection. As the coalition began their preparations, Zara received a private message from Lieutenant Tanaka, Devourer fleet approaching Unity Point. Estimate 18 hours until arrival. Zara squared her shoulders and addressed the chamber one final time. We have 18 hours to modify every harmonic gate in known space. We'll need every ship, every scientist, every resource we can muster. What we're attempting has never been done before. The Kethan War Master growled in agreement. Then we will do what has never been done. Together. As the various representatives rushed to implement their desperate plan, Zara couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The collective had spent millennia building a network of gates to help rewrite the universe. Now, that same network would unite their civilizations in an effort to save it. She just hoped they had enough time. Convergence. Commander James Chen watched the tactical display aboard the Coalition flagship Defiance as thousands of ships from 24 species moved into position around their designated harmonic gates. Each vessel carried specialized quantum disruption equipment, hastily manufactured according to Dr. Patel's specifications. All fleet groups report ready, His XO, Commander Nadia Santos, announced. Rith quantum calculators are synchronized. Kethan battle groups are in defensive formation. James nodded, his expression grave. The combined fleet represented the largest gathering of ships in known space, and possibly the last, if their plan failed. Through the bridge viewport, he could see the massive form of Unity Point Station, now serving as their command center. "Status of the Devourer fleet?" he asked. 12 hours from arrival, Lieutenant Tanaka's voice came through the comm. Her stealth ships were their eyes and ears, monitoring the approaching threat. The patterns on their hulls, they're becoming more complex. Whatever they're calculating, it's reaching its final stages. Inside Unity Point, Ambassador Okonjo coordinated with the coalition leadership while Dr. Patel and her team fine-tuned their desperate countermeasure. The plan was audacious. Use the very network the Devourers had manipulated them into building to disrupt their universe-altering theorem. "Commander," Dr. Patel's hologram appeared on the bridge. "The quantum disentanglement sequence is ready, but there's something you need to know. The calculations suggest we'll only get one chance. If we fail, the backlash will trigger the very cascade we're trying to prevent." James absorbed this information, feeling the weight of countless civilizations' futures on his shoulders. "What are our odds?" "Don't ask about the odds." Ambassador Okonjo cut in, joining the discussion. "Ask about our determination. Every species here is chosen to fight for our flawed but living universe over a perfect but static one. That has to count for something." A new alert flashed across the tactical display. The Devourer fleet had suddenly accelerated, cutting their arrival time in half. Worse, the harmonic gates were beginning to pulse with increasing intensity. "They know what we're planning," Tanaka reported. "The patterns, they're changing. They're adapting their theorem in real-time. All ships, battle positions." James ordered. "Begin quantum disruption sequence on my mark." The coalition fleet moved with surprising coordination, each ship taking up its precise position near a harmonic gate. The Mrith vessels glowed with crystalline energy, their quantum calculations reaching across space. Kethan warships formed protective barriers around the more vulnerable scientific vessels. "Multiple quantum fluctuations detected," Santos reported. "The gates are starting to synchronize ahead of schedule." On Unity Point, Dr. Patel's team worked frantically to adjust their calculations. "The theorem is evolving," she announced. "It's not just trying to rewrite our universal constants. It's trying to collapse all possible realities into a single, mathematically perfect state." "How much time?" James demanded. "Minutes, not hours," came the grim reply. James made his decision. "All ships, begin quantum disruption now. Don't wait for synchronization, we'll have to ride the wave of chaos." Across known space, thousands of ships activated their disruption devices. The harmonic gates pulsed with blinding energy as two mathematical forces collided, the Devourer's drive for perfection against the Coalition's desperate bid for survival. Space itself seemed to shudder. Reality flickered as quantum states battled for dominance. Through it all, James watched the tactical display, coordinating the fleet's efforts despite the increasing gravitational distortions. "Gates 1 through 1,000 reporting quantum disentanglement success," Santos called out. But the Devourers, they're pushing back. The massive black ships had arrived, their hull patterns now blazing with impossible mathematics. Where they passed, space itself seemed to crystallize, becoming rigid and perfect, and dead. "Keep pushing," James ordered. "Every gate, every ship, everything we've got." Dr. Patel's voice cut through the chaos. "The theorem, it's trying to resolve. If it completes, reality will. Wait." Her tone suddenly changed. "The disentanglement, it's creating something unexpected. The quantum states aren't just separating, they're talking to each other." Ambassador Okonjo finished, wonder in her voice. "All our different species, all our different ways of seeing reality, the quantum disruption isn't just preventing their theorem. It's proving a different one." James watched in awe as new patterns formed in the space between the gates. Unlike the rigid, crystalline perfection of the Devourer's mathematics, these were fluid, organic, alive with possibility. It's a counter-theorem, Dr. Patel realized. Not about perfection, but about the necessity of imperfection. About how multiple quantum states, multiple viewpoints, multiple species all contribute to a living, growing universe. The Devourer ships began to falter as the new theorem took hold. Their black hulls flickered as reality itself rejected their rigid mathematics in favor of something more complex, more diverse, more alive. All ships, full power to the disruption field. James commanded. Push them back into their own perfect void. The combined fleet surged forward, their quantum disruption waves now carrying the power of their unified theorem. Where they touched the Devourer's ships, the black vessels began to fade, their patterns dissolving as they were forced back into whatever dark space they had emerged from. Hours later, James stood in Unity Point's observation deck with the others who had helped save reality itself. Dr. Patel was explaining how their desperate defense had accidentally proven that diversity and imperfection were mathematically essential to a living universe. Ambassador Okonjo was already working with the coalition species to build something new from the remains of the collective's betrayal. Lieutenant Tanaka's stealth ships patrolled the borders of known space, watching for any sign of the Devourer's return. We didn't just survive, James mused, watching the ships of 24 species moving together in the space outside. We proved them wrong. Perfect isn't better. Perfect isn't even alive. And we proved something else, Ambassador Okonjo added. That when the stars speak, it matters less what they say than how we choose to answer. The harmonic gates still pulsed in the distance, but now they carried a different message. Not one of submission to perfect mathematics, but of connection between different species, different viewpoints, different ways of seeing the universe. They had built something new in the face of extinction, a coalition not of fear, but of choice. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, their theorem of life and diversity and beautiful imperfection continued to spread, a barrier against the perfect void, a message to any other devourers that might emerge. This reality, with all its flaws and chaos and possibility, would not be rewritten. It would grow.